It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Lesante. Thanks for joining us. Folks, it affects 65,000 people in the state of Pennsylvania, and right in our area, guess how many people it affects? 10,000 people. It is a disease that affects the immune system. Your immune system protects you from infections and germs, but in this particular disease, it's called lupus. In lupus, the immune system doesn't work the right way. It makes antibodies that attack healthy tissues and organs, and this may cause swelling, pain, and damage. Folks, we have on the show today a person who knows this disease very well, has been a supporter for many, many years. You all know her from coming on our news. Her name is Cindy Dolan. Cindy Donlan. She is the Lower Luzerne County representative for lupus. And we also have a patient here who will talk about how she got lupus and what she went through. Cindy, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Normally we see, on the news, and you're always promoting lupus and everything you guys are doing.
And you guys promote us as well, and we appreciate all the support you give us.
Well, it's our pleasure. That's what we're here for. Cindy, I mentioned before that there are 10,000 people that are affected in this area. And it says here that, primarily women, Hispanic, Black, African Americans. But let's talk about, the most important thing is, I described it, but once again, what is lupus?
Lupus is basically an autoimmune disease. What that means is like our body becomes a Benedict Arnold. It sort of betrays itself. It no longer recognizes its own organs and starts to attack them. Our immune system is basically set up for us to fight viruses, bacteria, infections. What happens with lupus is it starts seeing our body as the invader, as a bacteria, as an infection, and starts to attack it just like it would attack a virus or an infection. It no longer recognizes itself, and it could hit any organ. It could hit the brain, it could hit the kidneys, the lungs, the heart, the skin, the muscles, the joints, the blood. Any organ in the body could be attacked by lupus. Hence, it's called systemic lupus. But there's also discoid lupus, which is skin lupus, which just attacks the skin. Those people are luckier because it doesn't attack the organs. But that kind of lupus causes scarring, so it's not the most pleasant thing either.
So you mentioned the different types, okay? How many types are there? Two, you said? Basically?
Well, there's actually 3 types of lupus.
What are they?
You have skin lupus or discoid lupus. You have drug-induced lupus, and you have systemic. Now, there's also a neonatal lupus, a child that comes to babies. But primarily, the 3 most common types are discoid, drug-induced, and systemic.
You've been very active with this program for a long time, Cindy. Okay, how did you know you had lupus?
It was a long process. Actually, I've been sick since high school. I had a lot of symptoms that they told me were growing pains, depression, viruses. I was given antibiotics. I'd have pain here one week, fever next, mood swings. It took me to go down to Johns Hopkins back in 1998 before the process was finally began. At that time, I had developed severe liver problems, and a doctor, was a wise doctor in the area, had sent me to Johns Hopkins because he couldn't figure out what was going on. And when I went down there, it was a doctor down there that first mentioned the word lupus to me. But actually before that, when I was in college, I was having psychiatric symptoms. I was actually locked in a psychiatric hospital for mood swings and other things that were going on with me.
They thought you were nuts.
Yes. And when I was in there, the psychiatrist said to me, are you getting rashes on your body? Are you having joint pain? And I said, yeah. He goes, I think you have what you call lupus. He said, I'm going to run some blood work on you. And at that time, it came back negative. But he said to me, and I'll never forget, he said, I will guarantee you within 10 years you're going to be diagnosed with this condition. And the day that I was diagnosed, I gave him a call. And the man was really, sad and grateful at the same time to know that that's what happened. He had diagnosed me as a psychiatrist. The first word of lupus came out of his mouth back in 1986.
So how old were you when you...
About 17 years old. About 18.
Okay. And it says here the ages mostly are between 15 and 44, okay? So you start getting these symptoms, right?
Right.
Cindy? and then mood swings, sometimes they thought you were nuts, okay? So when you found out that you had lupus, what did they do to treat it?
Well, at that point, they didn't quite know what to do at the time. They didn't really treat it until it got really bad. When I first got treated, it was 2000, when my platelets had crashed to 7,000. At that point, I was bleeding from my nose, my eyes, and my ears. I was rushed to the hospital, and they started me on steroids. Before that, they just kept monitoring things because things weren't that serious yet. A lot of these medications sometimes are more actually dangerous than the condition itself. If you take the medication and it's not a serious form of lupus, you can actually cause more problems. It's kind of a delicate tightrope walk. Wouldn't you think so, Linda?
Yes.
you know, you can always, you know, you have to be kind of careful because sometimes the medications can be actually more dangerous than the symptoms of the condition themselves. So each person's a designer disease. Each person's path is different. You could have people that are on steroids with just, you could have people that are just on non-steroidal like aspirins or Advil, and you could have people that are on chemotherapy and organ transplant medications, and actually stem cell transplants that people use. It depends on the severity of the organ involvement and what kind of organ's being involved, and that's what you have to look at. In the beginning, they kind of just kept the watch and see approach until things got worse enough that they had to treat it.
So, all right, you were 18, 17 years old.
Right.
Okay, now, since you were diagnosed with lupus until now, what has transpired in your life as far as the progression, as far as control of it, and are you better off today than you were before?
In ways, yes, and in ways, no. Psychologically, I'm absolutely a lot better off because I know what I'm dealing with. It's a lot harder to deal with an illness when you're not quite sure what exactly you have. There's a sense of serenity of knowing what you're dealing with. You can handle things better when you can understand where your condition's coming from, how it affects your body, and what to do about it. So in that respect, yes. I have some complications from the condition, but they're being treated. I've developed diabetes from the steroids that I'm on. I have Crohn's disease and myasthenia gravis with the lupus and Sjogren's. But they are being treated. And I have an excellent team that works together and communicates with each other. And I feel that I'm doing much better than I was. As a matter of fact, right now I'm in the process of going back to school to become a doctor. I'm taking courses, and I'm going to be going to medical school maybe in a year from now after I get all my sciences out of the way, because I've seen a lot over the years, and I feel that I can contribute back by becoming a physician myself. And I think my faith in God has got me through this quite a bit, too. I'm not ashamed to mention that I have spirituality in my life, but I do think that that is also part of the treatment plan, is having faith in yourself, in your doctors, and in some kind of spirituality, some kind of God or thing to worship.
When you talk about the going through this pain, and you know, I know you know, and you really have a high profile. I mean, you have a lot of energy. I'm sure sometimes you feel like collapsing from fatigue, etc. And speaking of fatigue, some people out there, you know, lupus. When you have a disease, you become very educated and you learn as much as you can about the disease. Right. People out there who do not have, thank God, do not have a disease, no matter what it is. Well, it's okay. It's a form of, well, let's listen to what she's talking about. But it doesn't affect me until it affects them. Exactly. Then they become very much involved.
Or a family member gets affected.
Exactly. Okay. With that being said, when I come back after break, I'd like to let people know about the symptoms. Okay, and if there's anything that people can do to prevent, we'll talk about that when we come back. Folks, it affects 65,000 people in the state of Pennsylvania. 10,000 people here. It is mostly affects women between the ages of 15 and 44, and it can affect people, of course, of any age. Lupus is most common among African Americans, Hispanic, Asian, and Native American women, but they're finding now it's affecting more men than it did before. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and welcome all our new viewers in Schuylkill County. We really appreciate the fine comments that we're getting. Remember, 24/7, ssptv.com. Folks, we have all of our shows there. Take a look at them. We produce 19 to 20 shows here in Samson Productions, SSP TV. A lot of great shows, a lot of great information like the show we're having right now. But before I get to my guest, we want to thank Atomic and Mountain Spring Water, folks. This is the official water of Samson Productions and SSP TV. The water that Starbucks uses. If they don't have this water where you go and buy water, ask for it. Atomic and Spring Water, and folks, JoJo's and Hazelton Beltway carries this water. And of course, my good friend Dan Basala sells me this stuff. Mona V, it is fantastic. A lot of antioxidants in it, and it makes you feel good. It's called Mona V. Give Dan Basala a call and ask him about it. Folks, lupus, it affects 65,000 people in the state of Pennsylvania. It affects 10,000 people in our area, and it is mostly between the ages of 15 and 44. It affects African Americans, Hispanics, Asian, and Native American women, and also now an increase in men. My guest today, a person who's no stranger to knowing all about lupus. Her name is Cindy Donlan, and we're joined by Linda Quigley, who is a patient, okay? Cindy, as you were talking, I'm going to get to you in a second, Linda, because I know you have a very interesting story to tell. Symptoms, okay, of systemic lupus, what are they?
Basically, the symptoms of lupus are fatigue. I'm not talking like if you didn't have enough night's sleep the night before. You have to have for days and days where you just can't move. You're completely exhausted. Your whole system just shuts down. Joint pain, muscle pain, rashes, usually the typical, the butterfly rash across the nose and cheeks, but that's one type of rash. You can get hives, you can get boils, all different types of rashes. You're photosensitive. Typically when you go out in the sun, you come back in, you're sick. You could look like a burn, like a sunburn, but it's not a sunburn. It's a reaction to the sun. You literally could get a fever from the sun, okay? Kidney involvement, protein in the urine. The way you can tell that is if you go to the bathroom and your urine froths up in the toilet, that's a sign you may be having protein in your urine. Get that checked. Anemia, low platelet count, inflammation around the heart, pleurisy. When you deep breathe and if you go to breathe, there's pain in your chest. You're more prone to pneumonia. You're prone to more gastrointestinal problems. You have platelet disorder. Your platelets drop, okay? Fevers, unexplained fevers, okay? Those are some of the typical symptoms that you'll see. Well, also psychiatric symptoms. That's one of the things that's not addressed quite a bit. You can actually get psychotic symptoms, symptoms of like hallucinations, paranoia. You could get migraine headaches, mood swings, strokes, seizures. The brain is very much involved with lupus, and it's not respected enough in the symptomology. But then when doctors look at a patient, they typically look for joint pain and rashes and don't really focus on the fact that people with lupus also have brain involvement. They can be confused, forgetful, balance issues. Actually, some of the symptoms of multiple sclerosis are also seen with lupus a lot of times too. There's a lot of crossover with symptoms of a lot of autoimmune diseases, and that's what makes it hard to diagnose it.
So, Cindy, you were diagnosed with lupus, okay, and then now are you on medication?
Yes.
Okay. Now, people out there that are thinking, well, I'm tired, but you said we don't want people to panic.
Absolutely.
But however, if they feel, listen, everybody knows their bodies.
Exactly.
Okay. And, men are the worst. I got to tell you, we're the biggest babies, as you will hear. But anyway, with that being said, when you went for they found lupus, you're on medication. These people here are people that may have some symptoms. What do you suggest that they do? First
thing you want to do is sit down and dialogue. Write down your symptoms. And if you can, you could journal over a course of a week. When are these symptoms happening? What time part of the day? What are you doing at that time? You also want to get a copy of your blood work. One of the things I tell people, when you're first starting out, you don't think about keeping your own copy of all your blood work and see patterns, see things that might be happening. Is your blood count dropping? Is your white cell count rising? Are you seeing, like when they do an x-ray, you're seeing inflammation in your joints on an x-ray if they do an x-ray. Also, ask other people if they're noticing differences about you, because sometimes we don't notice things that somebody else might be able to notice about ourselves. And have a dialogue with your doctor. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Do research. But I want to tell people, there's a lot of things that mimics lupus. You could have an infection in your system. You could have a virus. You could have Lyme's disease. There's a lot of things that could mimic lupus. So don't panic. But you want to get to a doctor and find out what's wrong with you, because if you're not feeling good, there is something wrong. And you need to get to the bottom of it.
Now, has the medication been helping you?
Yes. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the medication. I mean, I have my side effects. I'm obese and I have diabetes, but I'm alive, and that's all that matters to me. And diabetes can be controlled. They're controlling my diabetes. I'm on steroids, and unfortunately, as wonderful as steroids are at suppressing inflammation, they also cause a lot of problems. Now, there's other medications that they're going to try to wean me off the steroids onto, but they don't come without their side effects either. That's the delicate balance with this condition. What symptoms do we treat? What symptoms do we ignore? And what do we treat it with? Because you want to go with the most non-invasive medication as possible to have less amount of side effects. And that's the delicate tightrope balance. And I have the highest respect for physicians, because this is an extremely complicated condition. It has many facets to it. It's like a diamond with many facets. And for them to have to pinpoint, it's really difficult at times, because you don't know. A lot of times, lupus flare can mimic an infection. Is it an infection, or is it the lupus flaring up? And sometimes, because of the medication we're on, we're more prone to infection. Because the whole key to the medications is to do two things: to decrease the inflammation in our body and to suppress the immune system so it doesn't attack itself. Sometimes we suppress the immune system so well that we cause our body to be more magnetic towards infection. So it's a delicate tightrope. That's the problem with this whole darn thing.
Linda, I finally got to you, okay? But this is so intriguing, because I've heard I heard Cindy so many times come on our local news and discuss it with different events, and we'll talk about how people can support your story.
Hi, Sammy. My name's Linda. It's good to be here. I was diagnosed with lupus in 1981. I think I had it quite a few years like Cindy, and I was managing quite well for years and years. I was able to work for PPL, and then I was on Plaquenil. It's an anti-malarial agent. They usually give it to people for malaria, but the Plaquenil suppresses the immune system and keeps the lupus under control. But in 2003, my body went haywire, and in lupus, you have an odd cell in your body, and your body attacks itself.
Let me stop here for a moment. Let's go back to said you found out. How did you find out you had lupus? What were some of the symptoms?
Way back in, let's see, I had a rash on my legs, and I was real fatigued all the time. I was real tired. I didn't want to get up. I was exhausted all the time. My joints were achy. I couldn't open up jars, and I couldn't grab things.
So then you went to the doctor.
And then I guess it was in April or May, I went down to Washington, D.C., and I got the butterfly rash on my face, the nose, and it looks like a butterfly, real bright red rash, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I went to a local doctor, and he said, I think you have systemic lupus. He did blood work, and it was confirmed, positive. So he referred me to Dr. Victor Labate up in Wilkes-Barre, and I've been going to him ever since. But it's a very hard disease to diagnose. Like Cindy said, it camouflages itself as different diseases. And doctors have a hard time pinpointing it because a lot of times in the early years, there's a certain blood work, it's the ANA, anti-nuclear antibodies that would positively prove lupus is positive. Sometimes if you're not in a flare, the blood work will show negative, but you really have lupus. Then if you go back a couple months later and get the blood work, it'll show positive, because that's what happened to me.
It waxes and wanes.
It kept showing negative, but really I had the lupus, and the doctors knew I had lupus, and finally the blood work showed positive.
So something interesting happened then.
And then in 2003, I got sick. They took blood work, and I started getting blood down here like a bleeding under the skin. And then by the weekend, my legs started hemorrhaging under the skin, like my legs were all like...
clotting factors were off.
It was... So anyway, I went to like 3 doctors, and they finally referred me to Jose Castillo here in Hazleton, and he sent me right down to Philadelphia, Harnham, in the big hospital in Philly. What happened was the lupus had attacked my vascular system, and the factor VIII inhibitor that clots the blood disappeared, and I was a hemophiliac. I was hemorrhaging under the skin. Wow. And my 2 legs looked like eggplants. They were all full of blood, and I couldn't walk. Oh. So I was down in Philly, and they were going to do a new experimental treatment on me at the time. They were going to put me in a room and give me high-dosage chemotherapy for 30 days and shut down the immune system, and then reboot me like a computer. And I said, well, did you ever do this before? And they said, no. They said, oh, but we had good results in Johns Hopkins. I said, well, no, I don't think you're going to use me as a guinea pig. So then they put me on real high-dosage prednisone. But I still kept bleeding out under the skin. And finally, Dr. Jose Castillo suggested mild chemotherapy to suppress the immune system. So once a month, I'd go to the local Hazleton hospital, and they'd give me chemotherapy. And for a year, I was getting the chemotherapy once a month for a year. And finally, thank God, it suppressed the immune system enough that it put me in remission, and I'm not bleeding anymore.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes.
An interesting story. Folks, I'm talking to Cindy Donlan, who is the Lower Luzerne County representative for lupus. And of course, I'm happy that Linda Quigley came on the show to discuss how it happened with her. It's something that if you don't have, you thank God you don't have it. If you do have it, you know people are going through. The idea is, how do we support the foundation here to help these people and also help with research? We come back, we'll talk a little bit about that and a little bit more what we should know about lupus. But most importantly, we're going to be asking again for your help a little bit, okay? Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and once again, I want to thank all of our new viewers in Schuylkill County. Another 60,000 people added to the cable system here. Service Electric Cablevision now serving in our area about 160,000 people. For those of you who have said to me, who have DirecTV and said, boy, we miss your show, I'm going to tell you, folks, call the cable company. You're going to find out that they have a lot more going for them what you think they do, and you'll get all our local shows. My guest today, folks, we're talking about lupus. It affects around 65,000 people in the state of Pennsylvania, 10,000 people in our area. Cindy Donlan is here, who is the Lower Luzerne County representative for lupus, and we have a patient with us, Linda Quigley. All right, Cindy, you've been involved so many years. The foundation, okay, there are support groups. Of course, you have the FATE group in Hazleton that was created here. Sir, what does this support group do, and why is it so important that people support the activities?
Well, our support group sort of is an active support. We're not just with our own members, we also go out to the community and provide information to the community. Our goal is first to provide support to lupus patients and their families, and also to educate the public about lupus so that people that have not been diagnosed yet can get the services that they need. And we do all this free of charge. We don't charge anything for what we do. We provide free pamphlets and information. As a matter of fact, we have these wolf packs that we give to the school districts, which is it's a game that teaches kids how to cope with chronic illnesses, particularly lupus. It's for families, also for anybody who has a child with lupus or an adult that has lupus can get these packs for free from us. You just let me know and we'll give you one. But they're basically to provide a way of educating kids in a non-threatening way about how it is to cope with the chronic condition.
In case you didn't see it, Andy, if you want to take another, this is a beautiful pack, okay. All right, and let's see.
We just gave the school district a bunch of those last year.
Oh, terrific.
So they all have them for all the different elementary school students, in the area.
Then you also have, now, of course, is early diagnosis good?
Absolutely, because the sooner you get on the medication, the less progression there is to the condition.
Okay. Now, you also have events. Now, there's the 9th annual Taming of the Wolf Festival coming up Saturday, May 12th, May 12th, 9:30 to 6 p.m. at the Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church here in Hazleton on Church Street. Tell us about that event.
Well, basically, what we wanted to do is we have 3 parts to it. We want to provide education to the public, so we're going to have an entire health fair. We actually have a doctor coming who's going to provide information on lupus and other autoimmune diseases. The Hazleton General Hospital and the medical library up there provides us with a table full of information, brochures on various autoimmune diseases, not just lupus. There's 75 types of autoimmune diseases, and we try to get as much information on the other autoimmune diseases that are seen with lupus and others that are separate from lupus. So we provide information out. We do screenings. We're going to have blood pressure checks, blood sugar checks, cholesterol screenings, balanced and bone density screenings. We also are going to have a basket raffle and a deluxe raffle to raise money for our local chapter and as well as for the state and research. Most of the money stays in the local area, but some of it also goes to our state chapter and also to the Lupus Research Institute out of New York.
And let me tell you something, folks. There's tons of information. It's a lot of great stuff. Cindy gave me a slew of stuff about lupus and other autoimmune diseases that they have. I'm sorry. The event certainly generates the funds that you need to support this, okay?
Right.
Also, we're asking you folks, there's the governor's budget. There was a line item that was taken out.
Right, the lupus line item was taken out. We're not getting any funding on the state level right now. We were canceled from the budget plan. And we need you to contact your congressman and your senators, and please tell them to put the line item back in so that we can get funding. Our money comes either from state and from our own fundraising, and we have to be able to provide services and education to people. We can't do it on zero, so we need your support. Our festival is our only fundraiser right now this year in our local area. If you want to help by donating baskets, we need people to give baskets this year. We need people to to do sponsorships with us. We also need volunteers to show up and help us run the stands this year, and also to bake for our bake sale.
We need cookies and cakes.
Right, absolutely. So if you want to provide, well, if you could put a phone number up later on, that would be great.
Well, let me tell you this, folks. There's Cindy's phone number, her cell number. She's brave. 956-0072. That's 956-0072. Or you want to call the lupus, it's 1-888-99-LUPUS. 1-888-99-LUPUS. They're looking for some volunteers, some help, donations. The Toon Bandits are going to be there to entertain. And again, free health screenings, health and info fair. It's the 9th annual Taming of the Wolf Festival, yes.
One more thing I want to mention, and what makes us unique is we have crazy baskets at our festival. We have a lot of fun with this. We give you some crazy baskets. We have a...
crazy baskets.
Grab a great dancing gondolier dog that sings O Solo Mio. We have a Doors basket with a Jimmy Morrison bobblehead in it. We have some crazy stuff this year. We have a lettuce eat basket, which is filled with salad stuff for people that have a gluten problem. We have a basket full of gluten-free items. We have unique, prizes for our festival. We have a lot of big prizes too, and then we have homemade food, halushki, sausage, peppers, meatballs, all made by local people. So it's a full experience. It's not just a raffle, it's a full experience. And we really hope that you people come out on May 12th. If you want to volunteer, we could sure use you. And, we would like to if anybody has any organizations they want us to come speak to, we'll do it free of charge. We're here to provide education. That's what we're all about.
Education.
The church is handicap accessible. There's an elevator to get down to the basement.
Okay, so
it's on Church and Hemlock Street.
She's partially responsible for why we got that church, because it's her church.
It's my church.
The Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church, folks, in Hazleton, May 12th. It's a Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. They certainly could appreciate joining them to give information. Time's up. Cindy, thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, thank you so much for coming on the show. Don't forget, get on our local news prior to this so you can promote it as well. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My email, sam@ssptv.com. Thank you for the nice comments and also some constructive criticisms we're getting. We appreciate it. As long as you sign your name to them, we don't care. Our website, 24/7, ssptv.com. Check all of our local news, plus our new shows, The Girls. It is doing fantastic, The Girls. The ratings are getting higher than mine, I think, and we may have to think about this. We'll see you next time.